My daughter came with my son-in-law and told me we got the bad news that Richard passed away.
Coming again, what I feel this time is it doesn't get any easier. So how far down? The pain's always there. I think what is the most distressing thing is because he was so young when he died, and because he died in such a violent way, and also because we haven't got closure. So it's still very difficult. It doesn't seem to be getting easier. I just don't feel that we'll be able to really move on until we find out what happened to him, until the truth comes out. His life was stolen, basically. Stolen from him in the most cruel and ruthless way that one could have possibly imagined. We're outside Abbey headquarters, Triton Square, Euston. This is where Richard used to work he worked here at the time of his death. So in the morning Richard would come to work and he would enter Abbey National at the front of this building here. This is the side of the building, and this is the location where Richard was supposed to have fallen. This side of the building is normally quite quiet, even during the week. Do you understand? If he'd fallen straight down, he wouldn't have landed there. He would have landed a bit further away. See where that table is? Yeah. On the 13th of July 2004, it was a Tuesday morning, Richard had breakfast with his wife and went off to work. He'd handed his resignation to Abbey National. He was due to start at Royal Bank of Scotland. He'd already handed his notice in, and he was due to go on holiday, I think in 5 days' time, to New York. He arrived at work in the morning at 9:15. At 9:45 he called my mother, told her he was coming up to Birmingham that evening. So at 10:45 Richard believed that he was due to attend a project meeting. Richard, being Richard, decided to go, and I believe in his mind he wanted to tie up any loose ends before he left, because he was quite a conscientious person. At 10:45 he walks into this project meeting, and he actually believes that he's in the wrong room. And sitting there are two investigators, private investigators or corporate investigators, and they've been hired by senior management to interrogate him regarding an anonymous document sent to the FSA and to senior managers. These documents apparently alleged fraud and allegations of sexual malpractice. Abbey senior directors believe that Richard may have possibly written this document, and they'd hired Kroll to interview him. I believe, irrespective of what they're saying, it was to get him to confess that he wrote the document. Richard denied any knowledge of any of these anonymous documents. This interview was carried out without any of Abbey representatives being there at all. So Richard was interviewed for nearly 2 hours 20 minutes, from 10:45 to approximately 1 o'clock, without a break. they apparently, one of the interrogators recorded that interview. That tape was not given to the police for nearly 3 weeks after the death. And the person who interviewed him, who recorded it, was a former detective superintendent of the Metropolitan Police. So the question that I'm asking is that he should have known that he should have handed it to the police. But what he did do was he took it home, he transferred it to his hard drive, and alleges that he then transferred it onto a CD-ROM. So our belief is that that tape has possibly been tampered with, that recording has been tampered with in some way, and that is another thing that is highly suspicious. At 1 o'clock, they claim that Richard was left to wander around the building, which is highly unusual, because they first said that the reason why they deceived him into attending that project meeting was that whoever wrote the anonymous document was a threat to security. So next minute is they leave him to wander around the building up until 1:45 until his death. Okay, just where this table is, this wooden table, is probably that's about roughly where he fell. He was found on the floor, and he fell from the 5th floor balcony, well, allegedly. A few witnesses claim that they saw him on the 5th balcony, but we're raising questions regarding that because of the fact that what witness claims to have seen him when in fact he was already in that meeting. So it actually puts Richard in 2 places at the same time, one on the 5th balcony, one in that meeting, which is physically impossible. So one of the questions is, are those witnesses reliable? So that's the first thing. And then a witness claims to have seen him climb over the balcony and fall to his death. I believe that witness is also highly unreliable, because his movements around the bank that day and his actual timings there's a lot of discrepancies with what he's saying and his actual swipe card time details. I believe his witness statement is not reliable either. Okay. This is a photograph of the inside of Abbey National. This is the balcony that the witness alleges Richard climbed over. This is a metal handrail. This is my father. Richard was a little bit taller than my father. The witness said that Richard put his hands on the glass, hoisted himself up and threw himself over. This is the back end of Abbey. There's 2 lifts there, and there's an office behind. So people were coming in and out, going to the toilet. The question is, remember, my brother had a right weakness in his wrist, so he would have had to put an awful lot of weight on his wrist to climb over like that. So that's another question. Also, Abbey said there was no CCTV footage, but when we met, I thought I saw something that looked like cameras. So that's another question that hasn't come out about the CCTV footage. That's another photograph of the balcony. Opposite is another building, but as you can see, there's a wall there, so you can't actually see anything opposite. It's a close-up of the balcony. You can see it's quite narrow. It's probably, I'd say, a maximum of about 2 centimetres wide, the glass. So to raise yourself up onto that, you'd have to use a lot of force, a lot of pressure. This is David Cameron. We had a meeting with him. He came to Birmingham campaigning. We were at a public event, and he kindly agreed. I passed him a file of our evidence, and he passed it on to the local MP.
What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to work out where exactly he fell. Okay, there's the head. See, fell next to the lift.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Richard apparently fell around 1:45, fell to his death. A few people witnessed the fall. Richard allegedly died on impact. What is unusual is, one, his eyes were closed, there was no sound, and there was the pathology report, no witness statements say there was no blood or hardly any blood at the time of the fall. So lots and lots of questions that we still haven't had answered to this day. So the post-mortem that was done was not a forensic post-mortem, means that normally what happens is if it's a suspicious death or it's a murder, they have two pathologists. They do it. They do the post-mortem, and they will take lots of tests and forensic evidence to collect obviously for a prosecution. In this case, the pathologist never did a forensic post-mortem, and I subsequently found out that this pathologist, in the case of Anthony Hardy, this is another person who died, this man actually killed somebody. He murdered her, and he admitted to murdering her, but the pathologist who did the pathologist, which is the same pathologist as ours, actually said that she died of natural causes. We started our campaign by campaigning in Chinatown and various places in London. Basically, we give out leaflets to the public. We talk to them about the case. We ask them to sign the petition, write to their MPs. So every so often we go on the streets to try and get signatures.
Okay. It's 25th of October, and we're in Trafalgar Square for the United Friends and Family Coalition Remembrance Procession from Trafalgar Square to Parliament Square. All the families are here, just to make sure that the government doesn't forget that these families today still haven't had justice and they're still fighting. We're here as well because of what happened to my brother Richard, just so that that we get remembered as well, and that people start to support the campaign and to support what we're trying to do. Hello everybody, we're here from the Justice for Richard campaign. Some of you might know the story, some of you might not. My brother died at Abbey National Bank under suspicious circumstances. We've been trying to get to the bottom of it for 4 years. It's been a very difficult fight. We believe the truth has been hidden from us. It's been covered up, basically, unfortunately. It's one of those stories that you hear about in the news, but unfortunately it happened to our family. So what we've been forced to do is to take to the streets, raise awareness publicly, because we're not getting any help really from the police or the coroner and all those people who are supposed to do their jobs. And so we're here
we
today
recently attended the CIC annual fundraising, which was on a canal cruise. Edmund allowed us a few minutes to talk to everybody about what we were doing, what had happened, to raise awareness. What we do want, I think, at this moment, at this late stage, is that we need to have the answers to the questions in order to get some closure. It's about closure, really. People have said, it can't bring Richard back. Richard's gone now. It can't, and that is true. We want to know the truth. Yeah, it's not whether we want to go through the legal process. We want to know the truth, and it's our right to know the truth. And my parents particularly have a right to know how Richard died. We believe the matter's been covered up. We believe that we haven't been told the truth.
Document, and they kind of picked on my brother, and we believe it's a combination of race and bullying and harassment. And as a result, unfortunately he died tragically 75 feet in the building at a busy lunchtime.
Find out he died at work, and we were absolutely horrified to find out the circumstances relating to this death. That was the beginning of our nightmares, and things gradually actually got much worse than that. The police, we realised quite quickly, weren't actually out to try and assist us, and they were looking to close the case very quickly. I have evidence now which shows that they were treating the death as a suicide before they did a proper investigation. So we've had to work really, really hard for 4 years to try and uncover evidence, and this is the job of the police. It shouldn't be my job to show people that it's highly suspicious and it wasn't properly investigated. Things have been very difficult for me because my children were only little at the time.
2 years later, we took to the streets campaigning. Sometimes I had to take my children with me. And it's basically taken over my life, really. We're resolute that we will come to find out the truth. We know that something terrible happened, and we know that they're not telling us the truth. And the public needs to know that what happened to him was absolutely appalling and outrageous.
I love you. I do. I gotta talk now.
So we here, and my dad's really upset because it's just shouldn't have happened this way. Mom, do you want to say something? So how do you feel 4.5 years on?
We still miss him very much, and we grieve for him. Can't believe at such young age he's taken away from us and from his children. He worked for the bank, and he gave all his life, and we don't know what happened to him. He never came back home.
And what do you feel you want to still do about this?
We want the truth, and we need justice to be done.
My parents are very old. My mother is 84, my dad is, I think he's about 91. My dad has prostate cancer, he's disabled, so he has to have walking sticks to help him walk. They are, every so often, you know, they will mention Richard. But, you know, if you have children yourself, and you never expect your child to die before you, to precede you. So that is one thing, it's a shock. But for Richard to have died in such a violent, suspicious way, as a parent, I can't imagine how my parents must feel. I know that they will never get over it. We're not necessarily looking for revenge. No, we're not looking for that. We're looking to try, I think the most important thing is that, what I personally want is that we need to get some closure especially from my parents before they die, because they haven't got long left. I think that's the most important thing at the moment.